So, hello everyone. Something different and not exactly planned today. I woke up with a message that apparently Foundation trailer had dropped, of all things. I mean, what's next? Hyperion? Forever War? My heart can only take so much. I'm a huge fan of Foundation, but I all but have given up for it to ever see the light of day. I mean, first of all, it's really difficult to adapt, and I'll give my opinion after I see the trailer for the first time. But secondly, it's been in development hell for, I think, decades. It changed hands so many times, formats even. I think at some point there were rumors of a movie, and then we have a TV show. It's kind of crazy on Apple TV of all things, a network I know nothing about. So let's dive in and see what it has to offer first.
Only we can shorten the darkness.
Okay.
People have been trying to make Foundation for over 50 years. Foundation was an enormous influence for Star Wars.
No, it didn't.
It was the greatest science fiction work
an
of all
influence for
time.
Star Wars at all.
The story is sprawling. The scope is sprawling. It unfolds over the course of 1,000 years.
It is a big scope.
If ever there were a company that was hoping to sort of better people's lives through technology, through connectivity, it's Apple, and that's something very much that
comments
Asimov
about
was
Apple
hoping to
being
do.
great. That's a bit on the nose. But from what I'm seeing, Jared Harris as Harry Seldon, I presume, looks great. Space elevator.
They're going to arrest me tomorrow. And you. It's almost a
Who
certainty.
that might be. For all its strengths,
You're
Foundation
familiar with
isn't
my
really
work,
a
psychohistory?
Yes,
a
in theory, but
well-balanced
I don't know what it has to do
series
with
when
Not
it
a
comes to
theory.
female characters. This might be a new addition, which might not be a bad thing at all.
They're worried you can predict the future.
Lee Pace as the ruler of Trantor, I
Worried
presume.
people believe I
Not the
can.
biggest fan of his armor there, I have to say.
And they don't
Who's
like
this?
the future I predict.
Gall? Love the
The
art
Empire will
direction.
fall. Order will vanish. There's massive events rushing to meet us.
Love that sort of effect of
Only
passage
we
of
can
time or
shorten the
universe
darkness.
imploding. No idea what that is. Foundation. And it comes out 2021. Interesting. Well. First things first. No, Star Wars were not influenced by Foundation. Unless you want to talk in some really broad strokes, the idea of a ruling planet that is kind of a singular planet, a ruling planet, then I guess you could say, oh yeah, Trantor is Naboo. But that's very stretched out comparison, because Foundation is devoid of action, which is one of the reasons why I'm curious about the execution of it. I mean, to be honest, it barely has any action. It's riveting. I loved it, but essentially the premise is you have Harry Seldon, the guy played by Jared Harris, presumably in the trailer, who invents this new scientific discipline called psychohistory. And it allows him to take a prediction of the civilization and its movement. So the bigger kind of amount of people you have, the bigger the your pattern you're taking into account is, and when you use psychohistory, which is basically everything that makes civilization tick, economics, math, statistics, history, politics, everything that is kind of on a very macro level, dictate, these are all factors that dictate the movement of human civilization on a macro level. And using that, he predicts that the galactic civilization they're in, this spanning millions of planets, spanning empire, is doomed, will be doomed. So he attempts to slow it down. He knows that there will be this inevitable fall of this galactic empire, and he fears that the light of knowledge and human achievement will be gone. So he goes to the ruler, Lee Pace, presumably, if he is the ruler of Trantor, with his information. And one of the reasons why I think this will be very difficult to adapt, and I always thought it would be very difficult to adapt as much as I wanted to see it, is because it has no action. The most recognizable character, Harry Seldon, the psychohistorian who invents this model, predictive model, under which he predicts that the empire will fall, he's not really in the book. He leaves his notes, his recordings of himself. And books jump a lot. The point being that Isaac Asimov was not interested in characters, and maybe not even specifically plot for that matter. He was examining on this zoomed out. In imagine it's like he was literally playing a game of Civilization or a real-time strategy game, where he would zoom out and try to see and predict which obstacles need to be solved 10 moves from now, so that the move 20 might happen and pay off. And he knew that the Dark Ages are coming, they are inevitable, but with his help, they might shorten the amount of time where the humanity will rebuild itself from the ashes from the Dark Ages, and under that time it might even be possible to save as much as human knowledge as possible. And there are some twists, yes, and some revelations. I'm just talking in broad strokes. And thematically it's very interesting, because for me the most interesting part, apart from psychohistory itself, is a thematic one, which is the battle with anti-intellectualism. And I think it's in the later books, or maybe it's even in the first two. It's been a while since I read it. Essentially, as this movement of people who are working under Seldon's instructions, as they are struggling to achieve the recapturing of the light of civilization, they're faced with many obstacles. And one of them is intellectualisms. As this long-spanning galactic society is falling apart, so does the communication between them. Which means that one's thriving and well-educated population is less educated, more prone to superstition, and less prone to scientific method and science itself. So they are battling with that. A slight spoiler, at one point they even try to go through religion. They invent this sect, monastic sect of technological priests, if you want to call them like that, who at the beginning use it as a necessity and invent these rituals and procedures so that they can save the technology they've kept from looting and destruction and ignorance. But at some point, some newer generations of these priests no longer see it as a necessity and start believing it fully. And it's fascinating. It's one of the most fun aspects of the book. So there's that. What do you guys and gals and others think about this? I think it's unexpected, but it might turn out to be great, especially if they don't drag this out. As again, this is a series that jumps around a lot, and I would hate for it to become some kind of procedural end of the world thing. It is end of the world, but it's end of the way of life, and it's something that is very slow but very impending and certain. So I don't want this to turn out like iRobot, which is just a butchering of Asimov's writing. And there's that. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you Ethan for supporting me. Have a good one. Bye bye.